Am I getting a countdown?
You're live.
So, welcome to Between Two Peers. It's going to be a weird show tonight. As many of you well know, there's a lot of things going on in the mundane world that are very distracting. So, we're a live stream show where the hosts, that's me and Sir Danger Muppet over there, invite a guest from around the known world to answer your pressing questions about life, the universe, and everything. Also, we want to say we completely understand if you want to like dip out and like go watch a certain press conference or something that's happening roughly around now. No offense taken. So the sponsor for this episode is Gin and Blood Orange Juice, a drink that is good at any point of the day, but occasionally excellent for convincing your feet that getting up at 6 a.m. and running that kitchen all day again was not the worst idea you've ever had. I am Tulia Alori. I'm a Laurel from the West Kingdom. I am really just barely hanging in there tonight. So I'm not going to have a lot of like really clever things to say in my intro, and I'm just going to toss it over to my lovely guest or co-host, Helga, to possibly save me from internal screaming.
Well, I think that there's a lot of internal screaming going on both ends tonight. So I'm Sir Helga, or Sir Danger Muppet. I am a pelican and a royal peer. Also, hint, hint. Sassy is a laurel.
I did say that, didn't I?
Did you?
I think I did.
Okay.
I did.
I like dogs, and the world is crazy, and I'm super glad that all of you guys are here, and I'm really glad that our audience is tuning in. So thank you very much, and I'm really, really looking forward to this show. And tonight, our amazing guest, who I am super excited is here. We've been waiting for this episode for 2 months, and it is here. Is Baroness
Anne de Tourna.
Okay, cool.
Tournai?
See, I am the one that does not pronounce names. However, I pronounce every guest name first.
Okay. Yeah.
Would you like to do an introduction?
Sure. So I am Anne de Tourna. I'm from Pelican and a Laurel in the Kingdom of Lockhart. I'm currently Baroness of the amazing barony of Politicopolis, and in my spare time, I'm Society Social Media. Because I like to be busy. But I just wanted, before we actually start, that we have a tradition in Lockhart that I wanted to share with everybody, which is I wanted to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the lands on which we're all meeting today. And I want to pay my respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and the elders of any cultures who are with us today. In Lockhart, on our Australian side, we're really, really proud to be living on the lands that belong to the oldest continual culture that we currently have on the planet. So we're going to shout out about that and give them respect.
Definitely respect.
That is really cool. I actually have goosebumps underneath
I know.
my tunic right now. I was just like, whoa, that's
cool.
Really cool.
I just want to actually tag on to that. Right now in the park across the street from my house for the last probably 2 months or so, we've had an Indian tribe out there, a Native American tribe out there that is doing all kinds of activities every Friday night. So when I start the show, I hear their drumming. They are out there dancing and just putting on an amazing, like, positive display of energy. And I hope it's having an effect. Yeah.
That is very, very cool. So thank you very much for bringing that in. So,
no, my pleasure.
With that, I'm going to remind everybody of the drinking game rules. And I guarantee I'm going to use a mundane name a lot tonight. So, drink anytime a host or a guest uses a non-SCA name when referring to somebody else on the show. Drink when somebody says, before I was a peer, in my kingdom, or when I last reigned. Drink when somebody calls for a soapbox. Drink when somebody calls for spite sprinkles. And we are adding one for this episode. Drink anytime something in the background of the hosts or guests falls over or falls off.
We're hoping that one won't have to be used a lot. It's 2020, yeah. So.
All right, I wore the padded hat. We're in safety mode.
Hat, fabulous, by the way.
Yeah, your hat game is on point. And so also I'm going to remind all of our amazing audience that you can submit questions during the show. Please sign them with your SCA name. Otherwise, I'm going to use your YouTube handle, and that just gets weird.
Yeah.
So from there, are we ready to get into the questions?
Yeah, let's do this.
Hit me.
Okay. So first one, this is from us to you, our esteemed guest. How did you find the SCA?
Ooh, okay. So I found the SCA in 1992, which I think is AS 27. Yeah, and look, total geek, really proud. It's the age of the geek, baby. And so friends of mine who were in a Japanese manga club said, "Hey, we're going to go do this horse riding event in medieval clothes. Do you want to come along?" And I was 15 and went, "Oh God, yes! How amazing does that sound?"
You're like, duh.
And so we went out to a place called Sanford in Brisbane, Queensland, which is originally where I'm from. It's known as the Barony of Riverhaven. And we're all in, I'm wearing a pretty frock. I'm riding a horse. And we were riding up through a little bit of bushland on these really, really beginner trails because, most of us did not have a lot of experience, but there. And the mist started riding up through the bush. And so you've got mist riding back, and then you've got everyone in costume. And from a couple of horses behind me, one of the guys started to sing. So you have mist rising up, song dropping down, and I just got, okay, this is my moment.
Yeah.
And I've pretty much been hooked ever since. Like I had a brief period of sort of what I call my consulting years, where I wasn't actively playing in the sort of early 2000s, but it's been pretty constant.
Nice. All right, so the next one from us to you. Oh, by the way, guys, we're doing a little bit like to all our guests and our amazing audience. We're doing a slight change up. We're actually starting to add to the show and do very specific guest-based questions in the beginning because we want to get to know our guest better.
We realized that over the course of 30 some odd episodes, we have completely sort of neglected to really dig into that.
Yep. So we're doing a little bit of a change up. So we look forward to this. So the second question from us to you is, what drives your passion in the SCA?
My passion is people. My passion is absolutely people. It's people and discovery and connection and community. And there is not another game in which you can do all of those things in one. You get to learn, you get to laugh, you get to try new things, like the whole come for the dress up, stay for the 400 other hobbies you accidentally pick up sort of factors. But you see the most amazing acts of generosity. You see people push themselves to places that they never thought they could go. You see people, start off as one thing and evolve and change and sort of grow and blossom into new things. And there is not another group that I know that when someone cries out in need, 90 to 95% of the people that they know or don't know go, what can I do? How can I lend a hand? I've got you. And that is an immensely powerful thing. So yeah, it's community, connection, discovery, and fun.
Solid.
That's kind of, yeah, I agree. It sort of Venn diagrams all of those sweet spots for me as well. All right, so our third question specifically for you, Anne, is from our lovely Zara. How do you navigate the SCA-related cultural differences with being located in Lockhawk with the rest of the society oceans away? How about the modern day cultural differences?
So I've got to say that when I took this gig, I wasn't expecting a global pandemic.
Same.
that was a little bit of surprise, and I have told Tiberius that if he set me up for this, boy, does he owe me drinks. But I think the thing is, so I'm old enough in the game in Lockhart to remember when we were West. So there's a little part of West being feel to it in terms of that, while being incredibly proud of the kingdom that we've become. So that gives me a sort of a baseline understanding, but it's also been just learning more traditions and coming at it from a point of being open to that this is not one game, you know, these are all our games. And so your kingdom does things in a particular sort of way. And, you know, it's your kingdom has, you know, so it's learning and those sort of things. And occasionally going, oh, whoa, okay, sorry, stepped in that, completely misinterpreted, my bad. I'm in terms of the modern stuff, time zones are fascinating, and I really wish I had a teleporter. Possibly sleeping a little less than I had planned to this year, particularly when, you know, our daylight saving stuff comes in, yours goes away, and then I have to rejig where everything is in my brain. You know, it's yeah, and it's, I suppose, a couple of learning about other kingdoms is awesome. Learning about more people is awesome because it's how we grow. And occasionally just understanding. So one of the things is, like, for example, we swear more casually in Lockhart than a lot of places in the States. If any of you have met any people from Lockhart, in particular the Australians, you may have experienced that. We drink hard, we might swear a little. And it's more like punctuation rather than being actually offensive. So it's just trying to make sure that I knew my audience.
Yeah, I think too that the way Australians swear is, it's, so cunt, if I'm right, is kind of a term of endearment there. Or is it still kind of iffy?
It really depends on your circle. For some people, yes.
Right.
It's not a phrase I use commonly.
Yeah.
But yes, for some people, I've seen it used as a term of affection, and you've really got to readjust your monitors on that one, because otherwise it's like, whoa, okay, no, wait a second, back off, don't start fights. Okay, we're all good.
I do also want to mention that I also remember when Lockhart was one of our principalities in the West Kingdom, because I joined a little bit, basically around the same time you did, same age as you, actually. That was one of the things we bonded over. I remember
Gen
that.
X,
Like, yeah, exactly. But I just really recently, very recently realized that the crowns of Lockhart have the oak leaf and the rose from the West. I'm assuming it's an acknowledgement, I think. And I love that. So Lockhart has always been a dear friend of the West, and, you know, as far away as you are, you're always close, and, you know, in our hearts.
I really want to go visit.
I know, me too.
I have a guest room. I have I have 2 guest rooms and 5 couches. Come stay.
Okay. Well then,
sold. Done. I am
so...
as soon as I'm allowed to be released from my country.
Yeah.
So.
Right?
On that note, shall we go to the next question?
Yeah, let's do it.
This one I have a feeling is going to be soapbox inducing, so everybody charge their glasses for this ride. This one comes from Anonymous, which is really me, because I figured this one would be kind of fun. What's the difference between the ESCA and the SCA?
All right, buckle in. I'm warning you right now, this is a soapbox, because, you know, there is no difference between the ESCA and the SCA. And the reason for that is ESCA and SCA is the people. So if you are using the fact that you are interacting using technology as an excuse for bad behavior, that is your behavior. You get to own it. You get to have the consequences of that. You know, we have rules in the society about behavior. They have always been there. Just because you're interacting on a forum where you may not be seeing somebody on a face-to-face does not mean those rules don't apply. You know, you have made those choices. You own your behavior at all time, and there are consequences if you behave badly. Sorry, soapbox. You know.
No, that was eloquently put. That was kind of like a soapbox period. Like,
yeah.
It's something I'm quite passionate about.
Full disclosure, Anne is my quote unquote boss. I am, and this is something I don't talk about a lot on on between two peers for a myriad of reasons, but one of the major ones is it's not about the job that I do in the SCA, but I am the West Kingdom social media officer. So Anne is society social media officer, or, and so she's basically the person I report to, which is initially how we met, and then hit it off like gangbusters. But the ESCA, from my standpoint, I want to 100% echo what Anne said, because it's like being psychic and being able to read everybody's minds. You're not a different person online. You've got like this unfettered access to everybody's inner thoughts at all times. So what people are putting online is really a manifestation of who they are, kind of authentically. I feel it's kind of a very pure, authentic representation of how that individual really is. So, because we really don't filter our thoughts the same way that we filter our words. And when we are human beings who are used to interacting in meet space and talking to one another face to face and having all of these conversations where we can gauge one another's body language, and we can understand that maybe being completely unfiltered, opinionated about something is going to get us punched in the face. We're a little nicer about it, right? But online, behind the anonymity of the internet, or keyboard warrior kind of kicks in, and all of that goes out the window, and you really just kind of get a very pure look at who this person is on the inside. And it's not saying that that's always ugly or bad, but it's very unfiltered and it's very strong. And being in a position now in the SCA where everything is online, because we have no choice, it's really, really difficult to maintain that distance that maybe we had a little bit more of in the before times, when we were still interacting with each other in real life, and still being able to. In fact, actually yesterday I heard just a very, very brief clip of something on NPR, and it was I need to go back and re-listen to it, and I'll go dig it up and post it if anyone's interested in hearing about it. But it was actually somebody who was speaking about social capital in the time of the internet, and how when you're forced to only interact on the internet, and you don't get the ability to create social capital in person, you burn through the social capital that you've already invested really quickly. So human behavior is really tied into this the real world interaction. When that goes away, and all we've got is this virtual interaction, and all of it is pure, like, unfiltered word vomit from our brains. This is why I never want to be psychic. When you ask me about what superpower I want, I never want to be psychic. But that's kind of where we are right now, with trying to grapple with this. I can't see you in person, but I can read what you're writing on Facebook, and what you're writing on Facebook is incredibly, like, hurtful. So I don't really want to be around you when we have the chance to get back into personal space. So, Helga.
So the difference between the ESCA and the SCA, I'm going to agree with Bridget. There is none. It is still the SCA. Damn it, mundane name. So that is, I'm just going to kind of parrot both of what you said. Is the one thing that we haven't learned at events is that there's no difference anymore, and we're still catching up in, like, that learning curve. It's not a diary. Nobody is actually the thought police. You're the one putting it out there like a billboard. And that's one of the things that I think people need to grow and adapt to. And the younger generations are actually already used to it. It's the older generations that are not. And so really the only difference is if somebody knows how to use a filter or not. And there's consequences. I was actually joking today with somebody because I made a very angry post earlier today. Like, I am really done with a couple chunks of behavior out of people, and I would say that flat to everybody's face. And so I always try to use the filter of, if I'm not willing to say it at an event, it should not go through this keyboard. Because amusingly enough, what happens at events has a timeline in people's memory. What goes on the internet is forever.
Oh yeah.
So Really, there's no difference.
And you can have no expectations of privacy.
Oh,
Yeah.
not.
You know,
like everybody,
you know, don't think that because you've put it somewhere that you thought was private, it's like, you know, it's that thing. There's a Lois McMaster Bujold thing book where there's a sci-fi moment and they've created this amazing new secure sci-fi system, like a comm system for the military, and it's everything. And the protagonist basically rings his cousin and holds his mobile up to the phone, you know, to basically just break the new amazing uber secure thing.
Yeah.
That's the internet.
Oh yeah.
Everything is eternal. It moves faster than you think, and you can have no expectations of privacy.
Oh yeah.
You know?
There's none. It's pretty much actually like I treat the internet like I'm having a conversation in my pavilion.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's a big one.
If you're not willing to say it where it can be heard through canvas walls, you might want to shut the fuck up.
Also, remember, Canvas is not exactly known for its sound blocking property.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with that, really, I'm just gonna stand on the flag of there is no difference, and also it's not going away.
Right.
I'm actually gonna be one of those people that says I'm super grateful it exists. I now understand my people at a much deeper level because of how they treat the internet, and how they treat it as a sacred diary of there's some like rule where they get to say everything but not be held to it. I'm like,
you know, that people like to talk about freedom of speech being, especially Americans love the idea of the freedom of speech bullshit. The reality is that yes, you have the right to say whatever the fuck you want to say. You also, or everyone else I should say, has the right to hold you accountable for it. Mm-hmm. And the accountability is not very pleasant sometimes, especially the more caustic, caustic and crappy that you are in real life. So
yep.
Yeah.
Well, with that, shall we get on to the next question? Because I think that we can go round and round on this one.
Oh, for sure.
But I would agree that all three of us think that there is actually no difference, and also that term is really just kind of annoying as fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one is for you.
This is from Anonymous as well. How do you feel that traditional thoughts, oral history, and teaching has changed with the advent of social media? How does this directly affect the SCA?
So teaching in many ways has always been an oral tradition. So in terms of that, human beings are pattern-based learners. We learn through patterns in whatever thing we're doing. We're you know, whether or not it's a physical thing, whether or not it's a mental thing, you know, it's a pattern. You're creating patterns, etc. So the internet, in some ways, has created this level of accessibility to story and to teaching that we've never had before. But what we're also having to learn at the same time is filtration. So in my day job, to a certain extent, like I'm in knowledge strategy and governance and stuff like that, which is really hard to explain at a party. But it's about the looking at how the internet, because I think there's a great Neil Gaiman quote about, like, you know, the internet can give you a million answers, a librarian can give you the right one, you know. So that's what it really has become. So in terms of teaching, it's a bit like when you're working with students and they're going, I've brought you these 4 bazillion things I found on Pinterest, you know, and you go, that's awesome. That's really cool that you're learning and you're working, you know, all of that sort of stuff, and that it's exciting you. So what's next? Mm-hmm. And it's teaching the what's next questions and the what's next and how do I go deeper, or wait a second, what are the challenge questions? So in some ways what we're doing is we're evolving a new way of thinking. So we're actually, rather than just the traditional way we went and we saw information, it was provided and we trusted it. There's now we're actually learning a way of verifying what we're seeing. And that's new. And some people are better at it than others, you know, and some people, you know, don't want to be, and that's cool. That works for them. But it's really about that sort of factor. The other thing that it does is it creates accessibility. There are people who are currently learning and teaching and participating who haven't been able to play in our game because of a whole multitude of reasons. And we're learning from other people. Like, for example, Mistress Rowan, who made my amazing hat, was teaching today, I think in Attenveld at at one of the collegia there. She's talking about 16th century German hats. And, so this is someone who is an amazing resource that we don't get to, that is now able to share her knowledge in this way. And we're all doing it. You see it with the, Vespers virtual fight club and the, SEA virtual classroom. So learning new skills to deal with the information flow, but it's a really exciting thing.
Yeah. Helga?
I absolutely actually adore it. And for my, here's the reason why. Once it goes on the internet, it's forever. And I realize that at some point in my life, this show may come back to haunt me, because there's definitely been some times that I have been lit on camera. But the thing is that right now in the SCA, we lack tracking our traditions. We lack tracking the voices. And one of the things that before the pandemic happened, I was actually on a kick of like, I have a secondary savings account so I could go get recording equipment so I could start trying to travel around and collect bardic voices and collect stories, or like send them the equipment and be like, just record everything and let's throw it on a server. Because one of the things that happens within the SCA is we're very medieval about this, is when somebody dies, we lose their voice and we only carry their memories. And realistically, I think that does a disservice to the society. Especially since we're weird little, like, we pick up a tradition and we're like, this is our tradition and we will protect it. I want to know why. And I want to know why from the person that helped create that tradition. And having all of these interview shows and having bardic circles going on Saga Saturday is amazing. But having things like this develop and become where our oral histories and our oral teachings are recorded so they can be shared just gives us a bigger depth of knowledge and experience that we can then be like, oh, hey, you want to know where this tradition came from, or you want to hear this bard sing? There's the YouTube link. Like, now their voice is never lost. When they pass away, when they step outside of the SCA, or, God forbid we lose a bunch of us, that's still there. And so we can still get those experiences and we don't lose that part of them. We can still have their memories and we can still tell the stories, like, but tell those sagas and make them legends, but also they still get to be real, which is really cool.
So I am an historian just by education. And that runs tangentially kind of with the idea of keeping a record, always wanting to keep a record of things. And academia has been far ahead than I think the rest of the world, or in culturally speaking anyway, in terms of trying to preserve things on the internet. And social media is just one more facet of that. Like, how does social media affect the historical record? And you're going to end up very quickly, if not already, there are historians that specifically deal with social media as in terms of the historical record and how things are, history is made online specifically, or even more specifically with social media. So that's, a whole other conversation. But I think really when we're talking about how this affects the SCA, I've been in the SCA for almost 30 years. And only very, very, very recently, in fact, I'm going to actually say it, only because of COVID, has the SCA on a large scale embraced the internet as a means of teaching, as a means of recording information, as a means of interaction. Before, and I know that I live in the West, let's all drink, right? The West Kingdom is a very tradition-oriented kingdom. It is a kingdom that does not like to incorporate newfangled things into its methods. And one of the things from the very earliest days of my interaction in the SCA, because I came into the SCA in the very early years of the internet, was the West Kingdom rejected the internet. Like, it did not like the internet. It did not trust the internet. The internet was for, like, just people that had opinions and, you know, real people that actually, or people that were authorities that had opinions published. It was that very much, again, I'm going back into the academic side of the SCA, wanted publish or perish kind of a thing. But it had to be hard copy published. It had to be something that you could hold in your hand. It had to be tangible. It wasn't any of this like frivolous online crap, right? That was out there in the world. And only very, very recently, and yes, okay, we could probably also call this a soapbox, sorry, realizing that only when we were forced to strip away the human interaction side of things, the real interaction, meet space. My words are really, really bad today. I very much apologize. Brain has not been on SCA. Brain has been on other things. But when we were forced only to interact online, we suddenly had, and I'm saying this we as kind of like a West Kingdom thing, but maybe this is broader, in a broader scope for the rest of the SCA, had to grapple with the fact that the online world in terms of the SCA world was every bit as valid. And I can remember having conversations with my disabled friends in the SCA 20 years ago about how they felt very disenfranchised because they weren't able to come to events, but the online participation was not considered valid participation. So now we are seeing only online participation, and we're having this wonderful renaissance of information from all over the known world, easily accessible to other SCA members. Doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what time zone you're in. You can attend a talk or a lecture given in Drachenwald, or you can go to one in Meridies, or you can, you know, people, and I've seen other people or people giving these talks all over the kingdom, known world, independent of the kingdom that they live in. So you're not just limited anymore to where you are physically. You can be anywhere at any time, learning anything, sharing anything, talking about anything with other SCA people. And suddenly we have this really rich online culture that we're just now tapping into. And that's wonderful. And my hope is that when we go back to having physical events, we don't just cut the ESCA. We don't just cut that online interaction at the knees, because it is every bit as valid and it's every bit as important for sharing information. And it should have been 20 years ago, something that we embraced. But it took us until we had a mass global pandemic for us to understand and have no choice about it, to realize that it is something that is completely valid and that it should be celebrated. So I'm really, really hopeful that going forward, we're going to see accessibility issues addressed by having online interaction be an actual factor in how we measure PLQs, how we measure teaching. This is from a peerage standpoint. I'm really hopeful that this is all going to come into play going forward. In soapbox / soapbox.
All right, so we're ready for the next one?
Sure.
Okay, the next one, blah, 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 blah. This is the great thing about live shows. You guys get to see us just flub everything sometimes. All right, so the next question comes from Elise.
Yeah, Elise, yeah.
Ha, got it.
You did it. I'm so proud of you. Watch her chime in and be like, nope.
Yeah, pretty much, actually, I'm waiting for that one. If you could choose one thing to remain from quarantine and be in the SCA for the rest, Carius, don't highlight the next question. You totally jacked me up with your name showing up. So, by the way, we're going to just go off this for a second. We run everything on Google Docs, and so it's all shared Google Docs. And so occasionally when somebody highlights the next question, their name then goes over the current question being read.
I'm just doing my job, okay? Just doing my job.
All right, so this question's from Elise. If you could choose one thing to remain from quarantine in the SCA for the rest of your SCA experience, what would it be?
Oh, I want the virtual teaching. Yeah. I really, hands down, virtual teaching, virtual bardic circles, because I live in Lockhart and we are at least 24 hours from basically the rest of the known world. you know, and so you love us, but you're less likely to get on a plane and come visit us as much as we'd love you to visit. And ditto, it's kind of expensive to get to you guys as much as we want. So bring on the virtual stuff. Keep it, make it happening. You know, it's awesome. And because like the knowledge is just expanding and expanding and expanding, and it's really rocking my world. So yeah, I just want to do a really quick shout out to the Society Archivist. You know,
Yeah.
If you think about the sort of stuff, like if you're thinking in your local groups about online stuff that's happening, that's amazing, that's purely local to you, please someone back something up, because this is going to be something we're going to need to capture for the future. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But yeah, virtual teaching, bring it, make the teaching larger, bigger, do it. I
cannot agree any more harder than I already am with what Anne just said. The virtual teaching has to stay. It has to be something that we don't abandon just because we now can go back to in-person events. And now we can have collegiums again, and therefore it's only valid if you're teaching at a collegium, or it's only valid if you're having, holding a salon or whatever. I think, Anne, you mentioned something really great too, is the virtual Bardic circles. I love those. Those are so much fun. And it is a ton of just positive energy, and very, very, it's cool to get to be able to sing with somebody that's, 5,000 miles away, which you don't get. And so many people are making these connections artistically and intellectually with one another over the internet. And I really don't want to see that leave. I hope it stays. So, Helga?
I don't have anything to add. The virtual teaching and the Bardic is huge, and I think it's a deep pool of knowledge, and it's just deepened our knowledge. It's also the one thing that I will add is the sharing of interkingdom anthropology so freely.
Yeah.
I think that this is actually going to drive the SCA together versus us being a little bit more like go sports team go. I'm from this kingdom and this kingdom is the best. I think that one of the things that the pandemic has brought to us with the digital is a lot of the breaking of the barriers, and the sharing of knowledge is the best way to bring a culture together. So
yeah,
I hope that sticks around because it's really, really cool.
I love the interkingdom anthropology part. That
covering that there's a whole coronations, etc. They kill off their royalty.
Yeah,
like that just blew my mind. That was amazing. It was just like that is not something that we do in Lockhart, and I'm pretty sure it's not a Western tradition. But it was like, oh my god, that sounds amazing, and a little weird but awesome. And I really want to come and see what it looks like one day.
It's been done a couple of times in the West. I'll cop to the fact that I'm dating one of the people that did it. And it is not, it is, by the way, he still put the coronet on the successor's head before he officially, quote unquote, died. So he did not break the chain. That is a hard no. But yeah, it is really not a Western Rite thing. But it's cool that it is in other places. And yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over Helga.
Totally fine.
But
yeah. So weird.
Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing though, we can't be like, or what I should say is I try very hard not to be, anytime I run into an interkingdom anthropology thing that is just like touches my little Western toe beans a little too hard, I'm just like, oh, that's a really cool way of going about that.
We all need a drink for In My Kingdom over this.
Okay, that was very much an In My Kingdom thing, but I'm trying to be nice, all right? And not make people feel, like my way is the best way. Because believe me, there's a lot of stuff the West could do better. So.
All right, we ready for the next question?
Now let's do this.
I will tell you, I'm not ready for this question.
Yeah, this one does touch your toe beans a little hard. So this one's from Robin. What qualities go into someone being an SCA hero versus a inspiring human? How would you define hero?
Ooh, big question.
It's big.
Yes.
We couldn't give you all the social media questions. We needed to like expand this a little bit and made sure you had fun on the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm quite appreciative. You know, I came to play, not just to work. You know, it's heroes are special. Heroes, there's a level of myth embodied in a hero, because heroes are created not just by the people they are themselves, but by the reaction of the people that are around them. So you have people who, like SCA heroes specifically, tend to happen through story, and they tend to happen through story and through mass belief. So something happens and the story gets told and we keep telling it, and it sometimes grows, and like we've all been at that point where we've sat around a fire and we've heard a story and gone, oh, I was there, that was a little okay, but you know, and depending on where the story's going, you kind of go, yep, rolling with it, or no, just one moment. But SCA heroes, because we are a society that was founded on an ideal, they are very emotional and they are very values based. And that's sometimes why when they fall, it's really, really tough for the community, you know, because we are here in terms of that because we have a common set of ideals and a common set of values. They look kind of different, and we may bump into each other when like our perception of that ideal or value is slightly different. But I think an SCA hero embodies those positive aspects of the values and our concept, our personal concept of what the SCA is and what we want it to be. An inspiring person in general, I think you see them in all walks of life. There's just different, but in terms of them being an SCA hero, we're a little more pragmatic in sort of Lockark. Lockarks are really kind of, you know, you guys were founded by religious extremists. We were founded by criminals and dissidents, you know, that came over and didn't respect our traditional owners, you know. But it means that as a culture, we're more skeptical as a culture. And so the whole idealistic thing can sometimes bump kind of hard. So that's why it's less likely you'll hear Lockark people talk about the dream, because we kind of go, that just feels a little, yeah. It doesn't mean we don't believe in the ideals and the passion of it, but it's we're a little more chill, you know. So it's like, so for that sort of stuff, but that's what an SCA hero is: someone for you that embodies what you think the dream can be. An inspiring person is someone who makes you want to do better in a number of different ways or a number of different things, but they're not SCA specific, if that makes sense. I may have just rambled enthusiastically.
No, I think that makes total sense.
That was a really good enthusiastic ramble.
I was all like, she's making crazy sense.
Yeah.
Really good. Okay.
Oh God, this question. Whew. Qualities of somebody being an SCA hero. At least, so I will speak for what makes an SCA hero for me, because I cannot. I'm going to agree with Anne, because I almost just called you your mundane name. So we're just going to go with that.
It doesn't help that her mundane name is also a very common SCA name.
Yeah. So I'm going to agree with all that base premise. And so off that base premise, what I'll do is I will speak to what makes an SCA hero for me versus an inspiring person. An inspiring person is charismatic, is willing to take on projects or take lead, and voice what's going on. They are inspiring in the fact that people will follow. That's the reason why they're called inspiring. A hero is willing to risk it. So SCA heroes, you can have SCA heroes on the fighting field, on the services field, on the arts field, on, you know, any aspect of this. Somebody can become a hero. Typically, to be a hero, there needs to be a level of risk involved. You are taking an inspiring nature and you are implying risk where somebody else feared taking it before them. That's what ends up happening. So on the field, we tend to make people heroes that are bold and brash. They are willing to charge into lines. They're willing to take a risk with a shot. They're willing to wow. And so their risk becomes our heroic moment. It may be nothing to them, but it was our heroic moment because we feared doing it. Same with the services, same with the arts, same with anybody out there. They become heroes because we cannot do what they do. They can, you can be inspiring as fuck, but if you're not willing to risk it, if you're not willing to basically put your neck out there and do it, you're likely not going to become a hero to the people out there, because you must risk what they are not willing to risk. And so that would be the difference. And so how I would define hero is it somebody that overcomes their fear and gives back to the populace with that. A hero cannot be self-serving.
Okay. So in the difference between inspiring though, I guess my feelings are pretty much very much in line with what Anne and Helga both said. Anne, you said something really interesting though that resonated with me. The SCA hero versus inspiring human. A hero, what did you say? I'm going to botch it if I try to repeat the words. Can you remind me about how the difference is sorry, I just got distracted because I got delivered another drink. But so someone who is inspiring is someone who makes you want to do better or rise above, kind of like elevate whatever experience you're doing at the time. Versus a hero is someone who does. Is that like, help me out?
Trying to remember the incredibly meaningful thing I
it was so
said.
Meaningful, and it was so powerful, and I have the memory of a mosquito right now. Like it's in and out. It's in and out. Like,
but they embody yeah. an ongoing concept, and yeah. it's conveyed by the people around them.
Yes.
Like, so you can have inspiring people who are inspiring of their own nature, but the community creates heroes.
Yes.
The community and other people.
Yes. And
word, fame, and renown.
Right. And that is the crux of what a hero is. But it's really funny to me because I don't personally have heroes. Like, I can't think of any one person that I know of that I can look at and be like, oh, you're my hero, or you are a hero of your people. You know, the heroic ideal is something that whatever it is in my psychology, I don't cleave to and I don't gravitate towards. But inspirational, now that is something that absolutely I can get on board with. And the inspiration is exactly the, somebody who makes you want to do better, wants to be better, wants to make you elevate yourself in a way, it pushes you a little bit further just by being there and being an example. And so, yeah, so talking about hero stuff has always been difficult for me because I don't see heroes in my own world. I don't have a hero in my own world. But I have many, many, many inspiring people. 2 of them are on this show right now. But they just want to make, their mere presence in my life or in my circle make me want to be better somehow. And that's not a heroism thing. That's definitely an inspiration thing. Also, heroes aren't real people. Like the moment that you start elevating somebody to hero status, they become iconography. Mm-hmm. They don't become real anymore. They cease to be actual human beings with feelings and thoughts and foibles and, fuck ups and all that stuff. And that's the stuff that I find interesting in people is, yeah, sure, you're a cool person, but you know what? Guess what? You're also fucked up like I am. Cool. We got that in common. So I'm always looking for like the humanity. So maybe that's why the hero thing just doesn't really resonate with me.
And maybe that's the reason why the hero thing does resonate for me in a living thing, because most heroes we have within the SCA are dead. They're living legends. But a hero and a legend are 2 different things for me.
Oh, right. We get into the whole legend deconstruction. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah. And a hero becomes a legend when their renown surpasses a couple generations.
Yeah.
When second generation stories are told of you, you're a fucking legend. But heroes so I had the very like iconic fall of the hero. Mm-hmm. One of my heroes disappointed me so badly that it took me never because I still have emotional problems with that individual. because I didn't let them be human.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things that I try to teach other people is that you can have heroes. Heroes are role models. Heroes are the ideal of the thing, but you also need to understand that at some point they're going to disappoint you. They're going to show you they're human. They're going to show you that they have weak spots. You should love them more for having that trust in you to show it.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot have the perfect hero. It's like asking for the perfect peer or the perfect knight. It doesn't fucking exist. And so I think that my understanding of what a hero is for me is probably different than what many people do, because I managed to come back from the fall of like my last hero and then refind those heroic ideals in the people around me, and to be like, they don't have to be the perfect hero, but they're still somebody that I wish to emulate and learn to lead from, and they'll risk what they have to make everything better. And to that's what became a hero to me, is they are willing to risk what they have. They're willing to generously give maybe even their entire their reputation to make it better for everybody else. And so that's my weird bastardized version of a hero. And so I realized that you're talking about a hero, and I don't have the typical idea of a hero. That doesn't exist for me anymore. And it's been bastardized into this other thing because I need the heroes. I understand that, like, that's part of my makeup is that heroes need to exist and they need to be breathing in my world. Otherwise I'm gonna give up. And so I just redefined hero. I was like, this definition didn't work. Hang on, delete.
How do you feel about the fact that people in the chat are actually saying you're a hero? I know, right? Me too. If only you knew her like I know.
If it wouldn't fuck up the camera setup on YouTube, I would 100% turn it off. Probably go dry heave a little bit and then go back, because I am no motherfucking hero.
And you know what?
Yeah, but that's the whole point about heroes.
Yeah.
You don't get to pick it. Like, no one sits there going, I'm going to be the hero today. Because if you are, you're possibly a wanker. You're very unlikely to be a hero.
You are 100% a wanker if you do that.
Heroes are conveyed. It's that sort of thing but also the thing is where to be human and to succeed is heroic. It's that kind of thing. Like, everybody is doing stuff that you don't know about, and it's that risk and it's that factor that both of you have talked about. It's the reason why Sam in Lord of the Rings is so amazing. Because for every Legolas who's there off being like elfie and shit, you need a Sam. You need the person who perseveres and gets up and leads by doing, and you don't get to say, like, I'm not a hero, because that's conveyed by others. You can choose not to, and you can sit there and feel,
the toe beans touching. Oh, there's so many beans.
So many toe bean touching right now.
Hold them up, Helga. Let me just dig in. Well, it's true. It is true. You don't get to decide who is a hero. I mean, you don't get to decide if you're a hero. If you're doing it right and people find you, your actions and your deeds, that level of inspiring, that it goes beyond you're an inspiration into hero status, you can't stop that. That is a thing that you don't get a real say in. And it is hard, especially because, and I've had people say this to me too, you're my hero. And that's just like, I am literally a dumpster fire of a human being. Like, I have a lot of baggage and garbage and not so many great things about me, but whatever it is, I also recognize that some people really just need that, and I still try to be a good person. So if that's what they need, is a total dumpster fire who just tries to be a good person as their hero, like, I'm their girl. Yeah.
So we're gonna go down a rabbit hole on this one. Yeah. Actually, I have a really weird, like, we're gonna all drink, because this is probably gonna be a soapbox, or like we should do a rabbit hole one. It should be drink, like, if we're gonna soapbox a rabbit hole, because like this question is gonna eat up a bit of time on the show, and so I hope everybody's enjoying it. Because now we've smashed my toe beans, and so now I'm gonna stand up and be like, so one of the things that was really, really hard for me to learn, and I'm still struggling with, and that I will tell the emerging heroes out there, or the people that will get this occasionally, or anything else like that. It's been said multiple times in this conversation, you don't get to choose when you're somebody's hero.
Yeah.
You do get to choose how you react to it.
Mhm.
You do get to remember that they've put you up on a pedestal, and you have to kindly remind them, I will be human at some point. I am honored and flattered that you see me this way. May I continue to embody that. May I continue to be this thing for you. But I also need you to understand that when I fall and when I fail you, I wish you to come to me with that.
Mhm.
Heroes should not be abandoned for being human. Instead, go to your heroes. Take those things and say, I had this ideal and then this happened. Do we want to discuss it? Because that's how you actually get onto that same track. That's how you address renown. That's how you deal with the fall of your own heroes. Because your heroes don't get to choose that fate. You're giving it to them, and they have no say in it. This is an unconsensual thought process that happens about another human being that eventually is going to disappoint you.
Humans will disappoint every time.
And so when that happens, just go to them about why, because you'll be shocked that so many of your heroes, both small and big, will go, well, fuck, let me address that behavior. Like, let me do this thing. I want to continue being this role model for you, or I want to continue doing this thing. And heroes, putting big giant quotes around that because it's the only way I can emotionally handle this conversation, is those people in that position of the hero must remember to maintain their humility about it and their kindness about it, because we don't get to shove people away. We don't get to say, oh no, I'm not a hero, or like anything else like that. We can't say I don't belong as a hero, because we already are for that person.
Mhm.
What we can say is like, thank you. And then internally we can just be like, fuck. So don't be a joy thief. Don't take it away from them, but remain humble.
But it's also about, like, look at those people, look at your long-termers, look at your high flyers, look at all of them, and think about the support you can give to them as well as the support they provide to you. Because, like, when you've got someone who's a high performer or a high, like, I'm thinking about it in a professional context at the moment, like, when you're leading someone who's just amazing and kicking it out of the park, you've got to run with them, because they have the farthest to fall. So if they're out there doing stuff and it's new and it's brave or it's different or it's everything like that, you got to provide some support. And that could just be the, I see you, that's really cool, or hey, saw that was really cool, how you doing, but it's that sort of thing. Just remember, just because someone's been around and they're amazing, or you think all of these things, you just need to sort of think about that kind of way.
Yeah.
Well, shall we take what was that?
I heard splashing, but also I know that there's a commercial break.
I really think a commercial break. Lady of the Lake, you're being okay, fine. I can't
we can do the commercial break and come back.
I can't say no to the leg. I can't say no to the leg.
That was some
the ankles
right there. That was
SCA's greatest weakness, the ankle.
Yeah, I mean, like, you huffy.
Could have been worse. Could have been elbows. Oh,
is that what you said? Whatever.
Oh my God, hang on for this ride. I feel I just can't ask about tacos, so you can choose. I hear scribbling in the background.
Oh, geez.
I'm loving this. Like, oh, she loves you enough. She'll ask you after the commercial.
Thank you.
Can we go to commercial break?
In a society based on living a dream, we deliver items and goodies that help you on your way. We specialize in some of the more artistic interpretations based on early period crafts. but we still throw in the mystical and unique arts. Much of what we sell is created by us, and we sell cool things. If you can't find it, we'll do our best to get it. Besides having some of the coolest stuff around, Wolfblood is a freelance artist who operates a graphic shop that prints t-shirts and embroidery. We may not have what you need, but we have what you want. We specialize in the unique.
Islamic, Greek, or Italian Renaissance, skulls, or Viking kitties. We're devoted to creating unique pieces of historically inspired ceramic art, a touch of the unique you can use all the time. Here's one of our artists working now. Hand thrown, hand painted, yet safe for food, dishwasher, microwave, and oven. Rennick Tane, which is Gaelic for start fire in reference to the heat of the kilns, is a mother-daughter team with 6 degrees and a myriad of art awards between them, and a healthy amount of humor to bring it all together. Visit our website at rennicktane.com or join us on Facebook. Thanks for watching.
And we're live again with the Lady of the Lake. Because you have an outside perspective, what do you think is the strangest thing you've seen with our election? or what the heck does the bod do? So you have these two questions to choose from.
Okay, can you repeat the second one? Because it cut out a little.
What does the bod do?
The board of directors.
These are both going on the Lady of the Lake wall.
Well, it's okay. The strangest thing for me is that you guys don't have mandatory voting. Like, I look at the sheer amount of effort that's put into people getting out the vote, suppressing people from voting, all of that. Like, you know, there is so much time and money and all of that. And if you all just, you know, now, I completely respect you don't have to. So like the model in Australia is everyone's automatically registered. You turn up, they check your name off, and you can choose to put person, like we have ranked voting as well. So you go, I like this person. Yeah, I like this person next, you know, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, but if you want to, you've turned up, you've had your name marked off, you can draw a dick and balls all over that piece of paper and drop it in the thing. You don't have to vote. You have to turn up and everything, because it's just really weird to me that you guys live in a country that purports itself to be the world's greatest democracy. And that's some really interesting like spin, because so many of you really believe it, and that is an amazing thing for a country to really want to and idealize and want to be. That is absolutely your systems don't necessarily. I say go mandatory voting. It would make your lives much easier. I'm going to cheat. The bod make your game possible. You know, they make our things. So they take care of the problems that you don't want to know about in order to be able to make sure that we do this as a worldwide club. The bot are there, and like, let me just say, 2020, those guys are working their butts off. Insurance, all those like difficult things, that everything they're dealing with the ordinary authorities, so that we don't have to when we turn up to events. And that they're amazing. They really give of themselves. Do we always get everything right, as an organization? No. Are we continually trying to learn? Hell yeah. And let's just keep getting better. So, it's that kind of stuff. So that would be my sort of thing. But the weirdest thing, gosh, just mandatory voting. It's so much easier. And then you have democracy sausage.
Weird. Right? I was just
like,
basically like,
wait, what? That really sounds like a dick joke.
Yeah, you'd think that, but no. So in Australia, voting is on a Saturday. It's always on a Saturday. It's held at local schools and all that sort of stuff and everything. And they use them as fundraisers. So they will always have like a cake stall and like a barbecue, and you pay your $2 and you get a sausage and a piece of bread with onions and sauce. And it is such a thing in Australia that it's known as democracy sausage. And you can actually pick your voting place by the level of snack that is available for you to purchase. Like, because there's like democracy Lamingtons, which are like a sponge cake covered in chocolate dipped in coconut. And like these, and then you've got, the inner west sort of place might have, they've got great vegan food, and there are websites that will track you.
What's your favorite Australian voting bribery food?
I'm a toss-up between the Lamington and the democracy sausage.
Yeah.
You gotta love a girl some sausage.
I'm just like, bribe them with food. Yeah, food is a great
but also here are public schools. So like these are state schools and stuff like that are provided through public education. And it acts as a really good source of fundraising done by sort of the parents and friends clubs and stuff like that. So it's a fundraiser, it's accessible, it's really easy and tasty snacks.
Yeah, I mean, tasty snacks will get most people most of the time. But yeah, I was actually going to tack on to that the things that are, weird to non-Americans about America's voting, I also find very weird. Like, why don't we have, a national holiday if it's not going to be held on a Saturday or a weekend day? Why don't we have a national holiday for voting? Why don't we have automatic registration? You turn 18, you automatically get registered to vote. Like, why don't we have that? The Electoral College is a whole level of fuckery.
Yeah, I'm not even going there. That's just some sort of mystical wizardry that is just bizarre. But really from an external perspective, I completely respect that you've got one.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things that it's like, I love that, we're refreshing. And we're just going to take a minute and talk about mundane politics because fuck it. Right. A little bit. But I'm sitting there obsessively refreshing results on I have my AP feed. I'm even refreshing Fox News of all things, because I'm looking at their count breakdown. I'm looking at the New York Times, I'm looking at MSNBC, and all I'm looking at in all of these feeds is how many electoral votes, even though the candidate that I favor is crushing it in terms of popular vote. The only thing that matters is this like weird concept of electoral. Bleh. And yeah, not a fan. I've not been a fan since 2000. The second election I ever voted in has not been favorite.
Okay, I'm gonna try to read this in the most Lady of the Lake like voice ever.
Okay.
For this is, I want snacks with my election, damn it!
That is a very good impersonation of the Lady of the Lake.
Like, why the fuck aren't there snacks?
Snacks. Democracy snacks.
I'm just gonna go with democracy. Like,
I'm just saying, it's okay to bribe people with food to vote, for fuck's sake. Like, I'm
still like, my brain is just reverting this to a giant dick joke the entire time. Like, everything, like, it just goes along. That maybe if there was more dick with voting, there would be a better turnout in the US. Like, I don't know. Like that's I'm down
One
for
side
that.
might always one side or the other always gets screwed. It only seems appropriate.
Yeah.
Democracy sausage.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I might have to get a Sharpie and just write that on a certain part of Hans.
Okay.
All right, with that,
we
shall
move
we go
back
to
to
the next
SCA?
question?
Yes. I believe the next one is yours, dear.
Oh, we're at number 8, right?
Yeah.
This one comes from Elizabeth.
Her Majesty of Atenville.
I believe so,
You had
actually.
a great episode.
No. Oh god, she's so much fun to interview. She submitted like 30 questions at one point where she was just like, I was just bored and thinking of all these, and so she just like mass submitted questions. What is your advice for people whose SCA experience has mostly been online? How would you keep newcomers excited without the draw and fun of events?
Some of that is if people are finding their passions, let them do that in the form that they're going through. But the other thing is we get to be better. We get to actually look at, and this, I suppose this goes back a little bit to what we were talking about earlier, which is that the minute that you join a club of any sort and you start actively talking about it and being at everything, you're a walking billboard for that club.
Mhm.
So, and it's like this is particularly true for peers in some ways, because like one of my pieces of vigil advice I get is that your worst day still has to be someone's good experience. You need to work out how you do that in a way that's safe for you and self-care. It doesn't mean you don't get to be human. It just means and if you think about that, that's what's happening to everybody who's finding the SCA at the moment. So this is one of the toughest challenges that we are facing as an international sort of community in general. And now we've also got it within our own little microcosm that is the SCA. So be better, be kind, do the things that make you happy, and find the awesome teachers, find the things that are really exciting you, find the things that are inspiring you. And then when we start transitioning into events, look at what they look like on a face-to-face basis, because some of those things might be a little different. Like some things will be better, some things will be worse. Create the space in which you're able to give it permission to be that. It's about so for your newcomer, tell the awesome stories. Point them at the things. One of the things I love about the SCA is I sometimes joke is that we are an entire community of people who are passionate about pockets of stuff. That could be fighting, that could be when I've got someone there, I sort of say, if you're into, let's say, 13th century Armenian beekeeping, we've got someone who can, like, in our community, who's going damn straight, God, I love those Armenian bees. Let us connect you.
My code word is 12th century butter churning, but exactly know what you're talking about.
And the other thing is share the fun stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, oh God, like when you guys did virtual crown in your kingdom, that was awesome. I was sitting there being able to virtually go to another crown elsewhere. We did a festival as opposed to a festival, when our major event for Lockhart was thing. So it was a bit of virtual sort of stuff that we got to have some fun with. So share the fun, share the knowledge, share the passion. Yeah. But tell them there will be things that will be different, and they get to choose what are the better and the worst aspects of that for themselves. Don't prime them, if that makes sense to people, as in don't, and this is something we've got to be careful about with new people in general, is don't necessarily share your trauma. Share your learning, that's a great thing, but trauma can be passed, as can joy. So pick what you're sharing.
Oh, that's a really good, I mean, and I think that's that one point is something that the SCA has historically struggled with, especially in the internet age, of everybody wants to talk about how they got, bad touched by a peer over like a minor indiscretion. and suddenly all peers are evil, or the SCA is all filled with assholes because one person seam checked you at your first event. Like, sharing the trauma perpetuates these ideas about the SCA that I do not think are actually the real experience of the SCA on the ground. They are someone's experience of the SCA, but they are not the average person's experience in the SCA. Most people in a real world event, you're going to run into a bunch of very, very, very eager people that want to share their excitement and their nerdiness and their geekiness about the Middle Ages or the current Middle Ages, the SCA Middle Ages. They just want to, they want to show you the cool thing they made, or they want you to try the cool thing that they made, or they want you to, they want to talk to you about the cool thing that you made. And for every 50 of those people that you'll run into at an event, you might run into one that's kind of a dick. Don't let that person drive you away. Don't let that person be the defining person of the SCA to you. Because I do, and 100% do believe that the vast majority of the people in the SCA are good and well-intentioned, and we're all nerds, and we all don't really socially interact with the rest of humanity very well. Myself included. I pass very well, but I'm not neurotypical. I have at least 2 significant neurodivergent disorders, I guess is the word to call it, but it's not really disorder, it's just the way my brain is. But the point is that even though I can fake it really well and make people believe that I am a quote unquote neurotypical normal, massive quotes, I'm not. And in the SCA, I feel very accepted, I feel very understood, and I feel very, very protected from the rest of the world that just doesn't get it, doesn't get the way my brain works. My brain is hardwired in such a way. So what I'm, to circle back to the actual question, I'm trying to actually just say that we are all people that, or the vast majority of us, not every one of us, but the vast majority of us are somewhere in the realm of, we're just gonna call it nerd, and we're just gonna let that stand. And it's like talking to somebody about their model train set. Every time you walk into an SCA event, and you can encounter somebody who's incredibly interested in this one tiny little aspect of history or the Middle Ages or art or culture or whatever, and they may not be so good about interacting about the other broader stuff, but that does not mean they're assholes. That does not mean that they're dissing you. That just means that you've got to be a little patient and run into other people, and everybody's just, excited about what they're doing. So I feel like I'm rambling. Jesus Christ. It's been a long, 4 days.
It's been a long week.
Oh, Jesus, it has been.
It's been Groundhog's Day.
Over and over and over and over again.
So my advice for people that have experienced the SCA mostly online is continue to find what feeds you. Actually, we're kind of in the golden age of the online content right now. And so continue to find what feeds you, and also continue to build relationships that will then be the gateway to meeting people in person. And you don't have to, be like, oh, as soon as events are going on or anything else like that. But you're going to build relationships now that when you meet these people face to face, it's going to be just as awesome. And so that's what I'll say is reach out, take classes, ask teachers hey, I'm working on this project, I would love feedback. Don't be afraid to ask people for more time outside of the classwork and outside of the events that are going on. Build those relationships, because those relationships are going to carry over into real-time events and also continue online. It's kind of a cool thing of right now. It's sad that we can't get together and party. We can't get together and hug and touch and say hello and hi, but we can continue to build those relationships. So don't fear reaching out at this moment in time, so that can happen now instead of waiting for it to happen later.
Can I just jump in for a sec? Just on that sort of thing, just touching on both of the points that you sort of think. For teachers who are having people reach out to them, take the time to establish the headspace and the stage of the journey that somebody is in before you provide, a torrent of feedback or a torrent of stuff like that. Like, I found one of the things that I've started to do a little while ago was work out is to ask the question about, what are you wanting from me right now? To get a clarity of ideas. Like, so, are you at the stage where, let's say if you were writing a story or something, you want me to tell you the bits that I loved. You don't want me to break it down, and go, okay, well, this bit, I think that everything. Because feedback without request is discourteous. We don't get to yuck other people's yums. It's that whole sort of thing. If other people right from the beginning had spent all their time yucking each other's yums, we wouldn't be a worldwide society. So, and the other thing is, because we are a society that is made up of people and geeks, that is still not an excuse that we get to use for bad behavior. So if someone's being discourteous or someone's being, check it out, work it out, they might just be an asshole. But the majority of people are really kind and caring and excited, and they may just be over enthusiastic and crap with social skills. So give people the space to actually but call people out if the behavior is not appropriate.
Yeah, and we're talking really inappropriate, not just they were dismissive or a little brusque or, failed to understand some social cue and you felt a little, hurt by their interaction. We're talking about real problem behavior. Yeah. All right, you want to go to the next question?
Yep, next one's
clearly I'm out of fucks to give tonight. All right, so this is also, I think, from Her Majesty Elizabeth of Batenveld, because it's another Elizabeth question. If you could go back in time and talk to new to the SCAU, what bits of advice would you give yourself?
Marathon, not a sprint. Marathon, not a sprint. Because, and that the game is big enough for all the different ways we play it. And all of those are different. None of them are wrong. Unless they're breaking our rules, that's a separate thing. I'm not talking about that. But it's, yeah. I was Lockhart Exchequer for 6.5 years.
That's way too long.
Yeah, so, I was great for 4. I was really crap for 2.5, and that took me a long time to come back from, because I don't like not being good at stuff, but it's the thing that I would say, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Do the things that bring you joy, give where you can, but don't do them all at once unless that's something that you can do safely for you. No harm to self, others, or the endeavor. Because I'm passionate enough about that particular concept that it's in my fealty vows. It was in my fealty vows as a pelican. No harm to self, other, or the endeavor. Pelicans and that kind of service is not martyrdom. If you are doing service as martyrdom, in my opinion, you're doing service wrong. It's a gift. Yeah. It's one that you get to share, and it's one that helps you grow at the same time. So it's that kind of thing. Don't talk about like, oh, I did this and I broke myself, or I did that sort of thing. Learn. Don't break yourself. We don't want people to hurt themselves. That's the basic rule. So marathon, not a sprint. If your brain is telling you it's time to stop, listen to your brain, and do the things that bring you joy. I'm gonna hop off that soapbox now.
You're like, soapbox off.
Okay, we said soapbox, so we have to drink.
Sorry.
Why are you sorry? This has been a delightful evening.
This has been very cathartic and a very trying time. Maybe on my end a little too cathartic, but because I feel like I'm far bit tipsier than I've been in recent shows, but Anyway.
I've been good since that mead jacked me up so bad.
I know. So this is my time, Helga, to
Okay, because
the
oh,
shit-faced one at the end of the
Oh,
show. But
that's okay.
I made a
I am-
strategic choice about gin rather than whiskey.
I
Yeah.
can. Oh God, whiskey would have had me literally under the table probably 20 minutes ago. Thank God, gin.
Yeah.
Gin. It's fun.
All right. So shall I answer the question?
Yeah,
and you
please
can?
answer the question. Yes.
If I could go back at the time to new to the SCA me, what you do does not equate to your value. You do not always have to be providing a service to be of value to others. I wish I could have instilled myself with that lesson mundanely. I have a very toxic cycle of if I am not providing value to a group, I will leave the group.
Did you decide
and
that?
What was that?
Are you? Do you decide that you're not providing?
Yes, and it's an internal cycle where all of a sudden I decide that I'm not providing enough, so I'm either not like supplying enough work hours or mental emotional like turmoil hours, or I'm not providing food. Like literally food is a thing. Like if I can't provide food, all of a sudden I just disappear out of a group. And so I really wish that I could tell myself that. Because there's so much empirical evidence in the start of my SCA career of I grew up very poor. And a lot of SCA people rescued me by literally like I would just not eat because I couldn't afford to eat, so I wouldn't ask for food. And like people would be like, cough cough, I have extra, poor starving child. Like, God, come here, you fucking teenager, like just stick this, there's meat, eat it, okay, good God. But I would disappear out of like feasts if I couldn't be a server because I knew I couldn't pay for a ticket. Instead of like learning to ask and learning to that sometimes my company is the value people are seeking, that my friendship is. And if I could tell myself that, I would, because I'm in my 30s now and learning that, and I'm still struggling with it. And I wish that if I could just go back and strangle myself a little bit and be like, this is the one thing. Remember, hang on to this thing, because what you do does not equal your value.
I like both of those answers, and they kind of touch on what I would say to 15-year-old Tulia, who was not called Tulia at the time. But I think mine would be your title is not tied into your worth as a member of the SCA. You can have no title and still be an incredibly important person in the SCA. You can have a quote unquote low ranking title like AOA, like your first titled award, an award of arms that makes you Lord, Lady, Armiger. But and that is really wackily considered a low-ranking title in the SCA, but it is actually the most significant title, I think, that we give in the SCA. And you should never devalue who you are based on the awards that you have. And that was something that I struggled with for years. It was always that next unattainable thing, like, well, I don't have my AOA, so therefore I'm nobody. Or I, get my AOA, well, I don't have my barony, so my court barony, therefore I'm nothing. I don't have my laurel, so apparently I'm crap. I've done this. Like I went through pretty much every award in the Western OP, and I was like, well, I don't have this, so apparently I'm crap. And then I got that award, and I was like, wow, I'm no different than I was before that award. Or before that recognition. And so it's still something that's taken me a long time, and it's something I still struggle with. It literally is something I still struggle with. The idea that my value as a participant, as a person, is intrinsically tied into who, the award that I have at the time, like the highest award that I have at the time. And because I'm goal-oriented, I am an incredibly goal-oriented person. And so I see that as an achievement. I see that as something that if I don't have the thing that I'm striving for, well, then I failed. But that is not how it should be. And that is honestly, fundamentally not how the SCA functions. So yeah, it doesn't matter what the award you have, you are a valued member That would be what I would tell myself, 15-year-old Tulia, who was not called Tulia at the time.
But also, like, you know, absolutely hallelujah to everything you've both just said.
Uh-huh.
But the other thing is, write the goddamn recommendation. You know, it's like, it's every time you think somebody is awesome or did a great thing, just tell somebody, because the thing is, we're big groups and we don't always get it right. And I can tell you that the peerage orders get far less recommendations than you think they do. You know, the crown and the baronage get far less recommendations than you think they do. So if you think, you know, actually make it something you actively do, model the behavior that you want, you know, and tell people, keep a little personal token to say, you were awesome, you rocked my world, I absolutely loved that thing you did, thank you. Because we are a society built on gratitude and volunteering.
And that was exactly what I was going to just chime in there as well, Anne, is that, yes, write your friends or write the people around you in for awards to the crown or the baronage or, you know, the principality, you know, whoever it is, be on the lookout for somebody that's doing a thing and write that person in. And the other part of it is, though, is that you as an individual always have the power to walk up to somebody who is, you see, going above and beyond, and telling them, I see what you're doing and I value that and I thank you for it. And it's really cool if you can do something too, if you can be prepared ahead of time for this sort of eventuality, which I almost never am, and I want to be so badly. Like, keep a little piece of jewelry on you, or a little thing in your pocket, or a ring that you can take off your finger and you can hand to that person. You don't have to be a royal person to do that. You don't have to be royalty to do it, but just take it off, hand it to that person and say, I wanted you to know that I saw what you did. I thought it was worthy of accolade, and I wanted to give you this as a token of my thanks. And that is so powerful. It's so powerful. And it's something that the SCA allows all of us to do, regardless of our rank. So get out there and do that, and remember that. Any other thoughts? Or we should move on to the next one.
Are we ready for the next question?
I think so. I'm in the phase of like, oh, I love everybody.
All right, so the next question up is, first I got to decide if I'm going to do watermelon or black cherry, and I think we're going to go with watermelon.
I think always go with watermelon.
Well, it's watermelon or
black cherry girl,
guava,
but, you know, you do you.
Fruit. Oh, what was that?
I was going, you know, black cherry versus watermelon. Well, but did you say lime or passion fruit?
Passion fruit, yeah.
Passion fruit.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, cool. That decision has been made. It's passion fruit. It is.
Right.
Because I like hard seltzer. Anybody wants to make fun of me can totally get in a fist fight with me, and we'll find out who's the bitch at the end. So now, oh yeah, I'm apparently sassy tonight. I was gonna.
I'm the bitch at the end. Like.
So this next question comes from Terry, who one of my best friends in high school.
Oh.
Is there an SCA learned or introduced skill that you were reluctant or inherently unwilling to try that turned out to be turned out to be surprisingly good at?
Ooh. Surprisingly good at.
Huh.
It's that thing of, how do you answer that without sounding like a tool?
No, okay, whoa, hang on. There's a thing that you can have humility and actually own what you can do. That's actually part of humility. Humility is not a downplaying bullshit where you don't actually talk about what you can do. It's actually knowing what you can do and where you can go with it. So now that we've had that little lecture, you're not going to sound like a tool. Just own your shit.
Okay, I didn't know that I would be kick-ass at feast management.
Ooh.
Like, I knew I liked to cook. I knew I liked that sort of stuff, but I am incredibly good at bringing teams together and being able to put the right person in the right job, and letting them own what they need to do. And this was something that the SCA taught me that I then took into my professional life. in terms of that. And really how that sort of came about for me was feasting and sort of stuff, starting off as as just someone who was helping out with some cooking. And then it was, okay, no, there's a flow to this, there's a thing, there are rhythms, let's build some systems, let's do all of that sort of stuff. So I went from, oh yeah, I can help out and I can do those dishes and I can cook that thing a bit, into, no, if I put a feast together, it's gonna fucking rock. Now some of that is, I am blessed by being surrounded by amazingly talented people, and I'm gonna shout that sort of stuff. But it's the thing that I was then able to do was actually put it down in a form that people can, and I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a shout out. I wrote a feasting primer. Lockhart does.
Again, I'm sorry, can I get a copy of that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yes.
That's because we're not as big as the West, for example. We will do feasts of 200, 250. Like the largest one I think I've done is 350 type stuff in terms of.
Wait, what?
That's pretty significant.
I would like to know.
Yeah,
I think the biggest feast I've been at in the West was 100 people.
I was gonna say, we don't have big feasts.
We don't have big feasts. We don't do shit like that.
Yeah, well,
Like,
but
not
in
anymore.
Lockhart, like if you run a tournament and there's a feast, the feast is catered. Like that's a thing that we do. And so I wrote a feasting primer for the thought, like how to basically take your project from concept to success. It's about teaching people that sort of thinking processes and how you do that sort of stuff. So I didn't know I was really good at that, and apparently I am. So yeah, I will give you the link to the primer. It's also, at the same time, I'm going to shout out to Master Drake Morgan, who did some absolutely insanely good work about allergy management, which has become more and more of a thing. And he did an allergy management matrix, which is a godsend as a feast cook. So yeah. Now I'm gonna go, woo, toe beans, back away. Right.
Oh my god, maybe that's the next drinking rule that we need to instill, is when anybody mentions toe beans.
No, don't touch them.
And so actually I have to ask, do you know where the toe beans thing comes from?
I figured it's the thing that happens when you try and poke at a cat's feet.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it's so incredibly cute. And they go, no, don't touch me.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. You are right on.
Yeah, because like I don't have a cat. I have the world's most chilled out greyhound.
I know, you have a fabulous greyhound.
Yeah, she's currently asleep just by me.
Oh.
So
Well.
So it was that. But Zeke, you can pretty much dress her in something, and she doesn't have that. So like which is lucky because she has corns. So
Poor baby. So is there an SCA skill learned or introduced skill? I'm one of these people that is good with my hands. So when I think skill, I'm like, there's pretty much nothing I can't do if I can put my hands on it. And so that doesn't surprise me. That was never a surprise. I think in my world, what surprised me was my non-tactile skills, or that they were even considered skills. And the thing that comes first to mind actually is being a consort, which is something I came to very, very late in my life, like 5 years ago. The vast majority of my SCA life was I never consorted. I was never part of any sort of fighting experience at all. It was something I watched from a distance and I didn't give a shit about because it didn't affect me. And my SCA game was never impacted by who was reigning or who was fighting or anything. It was just, I kind of motored on. I was like, oh yeah, that dude's king, cool, whatever. But when I became a consort, I suddenly realized all of this emotional labor that went into being a consort. And I realized I don't necessarily know if I'm good at it. I don't think I could say that I'm good at it because I don't think it's a quantifiable thing you can be good at. I think it is a thing that, you can be, well, maybe not. Maybe you can actually be a shitty consort. You probably can be a shitty consort, but
You can be a shitty consort.
Yeah, but mostly it's a very highly individual experience. It's not something that you can get points for or peerages for or anything like that. It's a really okay, back up. Yes, you can get a peerage actually for being a consort, a royal peerage, but the vast majority of consorts don't. And it is something that it kind of exists outside of what I understand as a skill or a thing that is something that I would ever be good at, because I don't think of myself as inspirational. I don't think of myself as, you know, somebody who's like a cheerleader on the sidelines. I am somebody who, like, you give me you know, a hacksaw and a hunk of whatever, and eventually we'll get to something functional. But you stand me on the sidelines of a tournament and I can't do anything, and I have all of these emotions and feelings and thoughts and internal screaming that goes on with being a consort. I had to actually learn how to what that meant to me, and it was something that, you know, I'm still getting through. I'm still kind of working through on an emotional level and an intellectual level, but I think I'm okay at it, and I'm going to go with that. So Helga?
Learn to introduce skill that I was reluctant to or unwilling to try. I actually don't have an answer for this. And I was trying to like come up, I was like, okay, cool, calligraphy. And I'm like, well, calligraphy is just like drawing.
Can I interject?
Sure. I would love to know the skill that that like the SCA.
Here's the thing. You are an incredibly skilled individual that I happen to call a friend, right? So I see the things you do, and I think to myself, that person is very skilled. You're artistic, right? Do you think of yourself as an artist? I just hard touched the toe beans.
Fuck you.
I have
okay,
to
fine.
admit-
Apparently, I have an answer. As apparently the SCA has developed me into more of an artist, and owning it a little bit more. Versus just being a weird fucking amateur that occasionally draws on her books. So
you are a good artist. Good artist.
Okay, we have touched my toe beans a lot tonight.
They said that somebody in the chat just said I gave you basically the verbal equivalent of a headshot. So
yeah, no, that was a fucking flat snap right there, like no block. And I mean, I'm literally looking like you said that, and I had to go look at the skull that I'm about to paint for somebody that I'm getting paid to do it. And I'm like, oh, I actually get paid for my artwork now. Like that probably means I'm an artist.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Weird, right?
Yeah. Kuna Hill just said the best comment ever. Do you go Oogie over in a art supply sale? The answer is yes. Yes, I do.
Give me your art supply sales.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on after touching my toe beans again, because fuck you.
I love you too, Helga.
So we're doing 2 bonus questions tonight because, well, I thought they were both worthy of having. So the first one comes from our amazing sister show host, Logan. He runs Ask the Knights. We're going to pimp that out later. You should really go watch that show.
Ask the Knights live.
We all know that there's 7 deadly sins. What's your favorite and why? And also, I totally took this question from you, Tulia. I'm an asshole.
I was going to let you have it.
What's your favorite sin and why?
I'm going to ask for a moment on this one.
Okay.
Tulia?
I was going to say avarice. I don't know why. I mean, I like the way the word sounds. So, you know, that's cool too. But greed. And it sounds fancy when you say avarice. It sounds like it's something that is kind of, you know, exotic and foreign. So I would go with avarice. Because I'm a greedy bitch. I don't know. I like shiny things. Give me all the shiny things. I want what I can't have. Helga, do you want to answer while Anne is still thinking about her?
I was about to say,
answer?
she gave the facial expression that she's come up with the answer.
Oh, okay.
Lust.
Mm,
You know, and it's because it's lust as passion,
mm.
you know, and it's passion like lust in a physical sense is hella fun and you know everything like that, but
Yeah.
it's the lust is like I get really passionate about stuff, like, you know, and being passionate about stuff to the point where occasionally I, you know, it's got to back off a little bit and let's not, you know, you know, don't do all the things right now because that's not good for me. But lust is fun. Being passionate about stuff and caring about stuff is fun, you know. And a lot of the times it's contagious.
But is that really actually lust?
I think you could say so. Yeah.
No, I would actually put that is prowess.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm gonna fight back on you. I don't think that's lust at all. I think you're actually talking about prowess.
Really?
Because literally your word choice is talking about how it's contagious to other people and how it drives you forward. And prowess, in like the knightly virtues, is not just what you can put on the table; it's how you present it. And so I'm actually gonna totally push back and say that you're not actually talking about lust at all. You literally just healthily explained prowess outside of the fighting community.
Yeah. Well, so prowess isn't a 7 deadly sin, though. Prowess is
it's the opposite. It's a virtue. That's the reason why I'm saying I'm calling foul here. I don't feel that's a sin.
Okay. Hang on. Pause. Is prowess the equivalent to lust? The balance to it?
No.
It isn't.
But I think it's passion and wanting, which is what is the wanting is the element that's the different about, you know, because prowess I think is, you know, is being very like, and this is the difference, like not in a martial thing is like when I think about prowess, I think about being really good at stuff, you know, it's being really good at stuff to the thing, which I don't necessarily equate with lust. You can be passionate about stuff and you can really go for it and you can wallow in the wanting.
So how is that not then franchise? By the way,
franchises.
This is my total geek out, by the way. Like, I want you to note that this question is like my fucking weird emotional jerk off.
Okay, can we pause? Can we pause for like a real quick second and apologize to our guests for the fact that this is one of those moments where this question we thought was going to be totally easy apparently is taking a hard turn. Oops. Sorry.
And I want you to know that I'm actually asking these questions in the fact that I think it's very interesting how we define both the virtues and the sins, because they're a balance and they're a strange way of how we look at things, and they're also culturally affected.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting. So one of the things that Giles and I, who is my Baron, established when we became Baron and Baroness of Politicopolis is we established the virtues of Politicopolis. So we have an annual so we are the 7th Baron and Baroness of Politicopolis. And so we had our predecessors, but we also had our predecessors. So and there are like, you know, 12. So there are 12 Aristotelian virtues in terms of that. So we have the virtues of Politicopolis, and they are inspired by those who came before us, who we felt embodied, because we talked to those who came and everything. So we then give, and a lot of the time I agree with you. The virtues are very much the reverse of a pride. They are the positive aspects of a sin. So like magnanimity is the positive aspects of pride. You know, it's knowing, and it's I've now, thanks to this, got a new description of it. It's the own your shit virtue.
Yes.
You know, magnanimity is the, you know, and I'm obviously doing well because I can still say it, and I've said it twice.
Magnanimity.
You know, yes. See,
I must be doing well too.
Yeah.
I can't say that sober.
Yeah. The unofficial rule, apparently, according to a former Baroness of Politicopolis, is that if you can't say Politicopolis, you need to stop drinking.
Political.
Little.
I can. Politicropolis. Politicropolis.
This is why generally the populace says polit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think but franchise for me is not about the wanting. Wanting is the element of the wanting and the passion and the desire. That's where franchise for me is the embodiment, and that is the lived embodiment of your role and your rank and your responsibilities. So so for me, that's very much about that. Because like personally, my favorite virtue is faith.
100%.
Yeah. That's it. But yeah, the whole franchise. Sorry, Eva and I have had many a campsite conversation about this. So it's like
I should have just put this question sooner. Like I was like, oh, this will be like a fun little wrap-up question. And I'm like,
let's just say lust, and it's because it's fun, and it's because about all the desire.
And someone actually in the I believe it was Berengar from Tarmist was just in the. Let me know if I got that wrong, by the way, sorry. In the chat, in the YouTube chat, was saying lust is wanting that can drive the skill to prowess. And that was exactly what I was going to say, is that lust is the drive. And it's not necessarily, I mean, when lust becomes a deadly sin, it has gone too far. But the drive towards prowess, and honestly, it's the drive towards most of the virtues is that passion. So I kind of, it's good. I like it. I still like greed though, because I want what I can't have. Is your mic live? Okay.
Baby Ninja's got some smart ass comments.
So what I said was, in the context of this situation, we've already described that they are deadly sins at this point. So they have gone past the point of where the lust or the wanting of the ability to be able to do something at a certain level. Like if you want to be like Helga, you want that as a drive. We have passed the point of that going from a driving force to a sin, which is the context of this situation.
And that's where, like, so why I think it's about lust is occasionally my wanting and my drive gets dangerous.
I get it. Yep.
I am a reformed workaholic. Like I used to work 80 hours a week. To the point, like, in my early 20s, I for a couple of years I worked 80 hours a week, and it's that kind of stuff. And it's why when people at the moment say, oh, but you've got this job and this job and this job in the SCA, isn't that a problem? And I go, no, because I've actually done it under really specific circumstances, because I own that thing about myself and this is going back to when we talked about earlier, that no harm to self, others, or the endeavor. Lust and the wanting of something and the wanting to, everything can be dangerous. Because you start to harm yourself, you start to harm others. So.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the point of the 7 deadly sins. They're all very healthy when they're in their, beginning stages. They're kind of all normal human behavior, but when they get too, you take it too far, then it becomes a sin. We're going to put that in quotes. We're going to call those Tulia quotes because I've been using them a lot. But yeah, so anything in excess, when you take it into excess, becomes a bad thing. And I think that that's kind of the fundamentals, if you really break it down, about the virtues and the sins, is that they are a virtue can be something that is healthy, but you take it too far, it becomes a sin. So yeah, ambition, not necessarily a bad thing. But you take it too far and it becomes a very bad thing. So shall we wrap it, or do we want to?
I was about to say, there's either one more question or we can go ahead and wrap it up.
I'm fine with ending it here on this note, actually. This is a really good
Oh, Baby Ninja would like it noted that right now we only have 39 likes, which means the doggo only gets 3
No,
treats.
I see 41. I see 41 likes.
Oh, 4 treats. Baby Ninja, I need you to actually take a video of you feeding her a treat so we can post that to our fans page. That's fine. I'm just telling you that this is now a required thing, so we can prove that the doggo is getting her proper treats.
Well, we have another doggo in the mix.
Oh, we do.
And your doggo get some treats.
Absolutely.
More likes.
Awesome. So for every 10 likes, there are now 2 doggos that get treats.
And both
We're up
of
to
them are
48,
spectacularly
49.
cute dogs.
Oh yeah, both of them are amazing dogs.
Okay, so we're up to 50. 51 likes.
Oh,
right now.
everybody is throwing down with the likes for the doggo treats. Like
I like how we can manipulate your votes with doggos.
So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the show up. And so I'm going to say that really thank you so much for being on. Do you have any shows that you would like to plug? Do you have anything you would like to say before the end of the show?
I want to give a shout out to Crowns Between Two Roses. I want to thank both you guys on Between Two Peers and Ask the Knights Live in particular for the stuff that you're doing for our community. It's really appreciated. I want to just remind everybody to, consensually hug in whatever form that they prefer it, your social media officers and your web teams. I want people to think about the fact that you've got people who have basically been acting as 24/7 event stewards since this pandemic started and we started locking down.
Yeah.
So basically give a shout out to your officers, support them where you can, because these guys are absolutely amazing. And, it's our content creators and our artists. They're getting it through us. So yeah, support all your local artists. That includes you, Helga.
Miss Tulia, would you like to do a shout out?
I would like to just plug our sister show again, Ask the Knights Live. And Logan's been having some really great discussions right now in the last couple of weeks. Various interesting knights in the SCA having interesting opinions about all the things that it goes into being a knight in the SCA or in just the SCA in general. So always great conversation. And it is like sitting around a fire. I feel more so than our show. Our show is literally like being drunk with friends, right? But when you're sitting around a fire in the SCA, like in an SCA event, and you're just listening to knights talking, like that's the conversation you get from Ask the Knights Live. Here you're just like, no, I love you, man. No, I love you. That's kind of between two peers.
Yeah, I was about to say, like we're the drunken after show of Ask a Knights.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Helga?
So mine is to the sisters interview. I was just spoiled enough to actually be on their show as a guest. And I will tell you that they have some amazing guests on. If you want to get to know more peers from around the realm, they're just an amazing way to get to know people from across the known world. They're asking amazing questions. You can learn people's origin stories, like what they're currently doing. They're really informative. They're also super fun to interact with. Like I had a blast on their show. Holy crap. We dropped some heavy conversation too. Like it was not fluffy. I believe all 3 of us ended up crying on camera.
So somebody just asked actually about Ask the Knights Live, and I was completely neglecting in mentioning that it's every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or Daylight Time. I don't even know where we are. Pacific Time, whatever it is, West Coast, United States time. And Logan streams it on Facebook. So if you're not following it on Facebook, go to your Facebook, put in Ask the Knights Live. It should come right up. Follow it, and you'll be able to pull it right up.
Yep, and they're super fun. Like it gets a little sassy on that show also.
Oh, super sassy.
So with that, what I'm going to say is, one, if you're a merchant watching the show, we have a form for you. We would love to run merchant commercials. Also, this includes other shows, other content, like send us in things. Like, also, I'm going to say that the holiday season is coming up. You could probably even bribe us into doing like a holiday commercial because we think we're funny. So with that, send us your information. Ping us on Facebook or find and ping me. I can get you the form so we can actually do something for your show or your content or your merchanting or just kind of a little randomly because it's kind of fun to pimp out what you're doing out there on the World Wide Web. We would love to co-support our other shows. So I'm going to say thank you to all our viewers. I'm going to say thank you so much to our guest for showing. Like, share, and follow us on Facebook. You can come chat with us during the week on Discord and follow us on YouTube because, well, that's just kind of fun to see that we've got over 600 people following this show. That's like awesome. Like, holy crap. So with that, next week we'll have Sir Brian of Bellatrix as our guest. I would like everybody to send in the weird fucking questions for that
Weirder,
show.
the better.
I want to make that man uncomfortable on camera.
Oh, no. Oh, come on. Really, Bri?
Yeah, we got to try to make him uncomfortable on camera. So send me those weird questions so we can just make him fidget a little bit.
He always wins at gay chicken.
Oh, God. Yeah, this is a man who is, there are no holds barred with the weirdness. So definitely get weird.
Definitely. So with that, thank you all so much for hanging out with us for 2 hours this evening. You've been amazing.
Good night.
Night all.